Netflix spent $200 million telling you a lie. The most expensive dinosaur documentary ever made, Spielberg, Morgan Freeman, Industrial Light and Magic, put two predators in the same scene, in the same fight, on the same continent, and it never happened. Giganotosaurus and T-Rex never met, never shared a continent, never lived in the same million years. The battle Netflix built its entire series around, the centerpiece of the most watched nature documentary of 2026, is fiction dressed as science. This is what Giganotosaurus actually was, and what it actually did.
In 1993, a car mechanic named Ruben Carolini was driving through Patagonia, Argentina, when he spotted something strange sticking out of a cliff face. He stopped. He looked closer. It was a bone, an enormous bone. Carolini wasn't a scientist. He had no formal training in paleontology, but he had spent years walking these badlands, and he knew instinctively that this was something nobody had seen before. He contacted the nearest museum. Scientists arrived, and what they excavated over the next several field seasons rewrote the record books. Giganotosaurus carolini, named partly in honor of the man who found it, was formally described in 1995. The scientific community went quiet for a moment because the numbers were staggering. A skull over 1.8 meters long, a body estimated at 12 to 13 meters, a mass somewhere between 6 and 8 tons. For a brief moment in 1995, Giganotosaurus held a title that T-Rex had owned for over a century, the largest known carnivorous dinosaur that ever lived. One car mechanic, one cliff face in Patagonia, and suddenly, the king had competition.
T-Rex and Giganotosaurus never shared a world. The science is unambiguous. Here is the fact Netflix chose not to show you. Giganotosaurus lived approximately 98 to 97 million years ago. T-Rex lived approximately 68 to 66 million years ago. That is a gap of roughly 30 million years. To put that number in human terms, 30 million years ago, our ancestors were small, tree-dwelling primates who hadn't yet figured out how to walk upright. The gap between Giganotosaurus and T-Rex is larger than the entire evolutionary history of the human lineage. They didn't just miss each other. They missed each other by an amount of time that makes the question almost absurd. And the geography makes it worse. Giganotosaurus lived in what is now Argentina. T-Rex lived in what is now North America. The land masses were more separated in the Cretaceous than they are today. No land bridge, no shared migration route, no possible meeting point. Netflix built a $200 million fight scene around a confrontation that the laws of physics, geology, and time itself made impossible. The question isn't why they fought. The question is, what was Giganotosaurus actually doing for 98 million years ago? And why does that matter more than any fictional fight ever could?
It didn't hunt alone, and that changes everything. Forget the Hollywood duel. The real story is stranger. Giganotosaurus lived during what paleontologists call the mid-Cretaceous, a world that looked nothing like the late Cretaceous of T-Rex. The prey was different, ecosystem was different, and crucially, the hunting strategy may have been different. In 1997, paleontologist Rodolfo Coria proposed something that the field is still arguing about. Giganotosaurus may have hunted in groups. The evidence is circumstantial, but compelling. Multiple Giganotosaurus specimens have been found in close geographical proximity. Bone beds suggest that several individuals died near the same location. And the prey available to Giganotosaurus in Patagonia included sauropods, specifically Argentinosaurus, which may have been the largest animal that has ever walked on land. Estimates range from 70 to 80 tons. A single Giganotosaurus, even at 8 tons, cannot bring down an 80-ton sauropod alone. The physics don't work. But a coordinated group of large theropods, working together the way Komodo dragons sometimes do, that changes the calculation entirely.
T-Rex was the lone assassin. Giganotosaurus may have been something closer to a coordinated pack predator. Which one is more terrifying?
The brain was the size of a banana. That's not an insult, it's a revelation. Netflix made Giganotosaurus look smart, calculating, strategic, almost cunning. The skull tells a different story. When scientists examined the endocast of Giganotosaurus, the fossilized impression of the brain cavity, they found something unexpected. The brain was small, very small, roughly banana-shaped, as researchers have described it. The olfactory bulbs, the sections dedicated to smell, were proportionally enormous. Giganotosaurus was not an intellectual predator. It didn't stalk prey with patience and planning the way a modern big cat does. It was a sensory predator. It smelled its way through the world. It detected blood from enormous distances. It tracked wounded animals across vast territories. This is actually more interesting than Netflix's version, because it means Giganotosaurus operated on a different biological level entirely from T-Rex. T-Rex had forward-facing eyes, depth perception, suggesting active, precise hunting. Giganotosaurus had a different toolkit entirely, more primitive in some ways, more specialized in others. Two apex predators that evolution built from completely different blueprints for completely different worlds. The fight Netflix invented is boring compared to the actual biological story. There's a wound on an Argentinosaurus bone. It tells us exactly how Giganotosaurus killed. We don't need Netflix to reconstruct the hunt. We have the fossils. In the bone beds of Patagonia, paleontologists found an Argentinosaurus femur, a thigh bone, with a very specific type of mark on it. Not a puncture, not a crush, a slash. Long, parallel, deep. The mark was made by the serrated edge of a large tooth, specifically the kind of serrated tooth Giganotosaurus carried. And the angle of the slash tells us something precise. The animal was attacked from the side while moving. This is not random scavenging. This is a predator making a calculated lateral strike, targeting a specific anatomical location on a moving animal to cause maximum blood loss. Giganotosaurus didn't need to overpower Argentinosaurus. It needed to wound it and wait. The largest land predator in history was also one of the most patient. It would make one slash, step back, follow the animal, sometimes for hours, as blood loss and shock did the work. This is not the monster Netflix showed you. This is something far more sophisticated and far more disturbing.
T-Rex would have lost, but not for the reason you think. Since Netflix forced the question, let's answer it honestly. If somehow, impossibly, T-Rex and Giganotosaurus had met in the same place at the same time, what actually happens? Giganotosaurus is larger in body length, slightly longer jaw, longer arms, but the teeth are different. T-Rex teeth were bone-crushing, thick, conical, designed to penetrate and hold, to bite through bone. The bite force is estimated at 35 to 60,000 newtons, among the highest of any animal that has ever lived. Giganotosaurus teeth were blade-like, flat, serrated, designed for slashing and cutting through flesh quickly. Effective, devastating, but not built for bone crushing. T-Rex had significantly better binocular vision. Giganotosaurus had a longer reach. T-Rex had more powerful hind legs for acceleration. Giganotosaurus may have had more endurance. The honest scientific answer is unknown. The variables are too complex, the fossil record too incomplete. But here's the more important point. The question itself is wrong. These animals were not rivals. They were solutions to completely different problems, built by evolution 30 million years apart for entirely different worlds. Netflix created a rivalry that never existed because a real rivalry can be sold. The actual biology is harder to market, but infinitely more interesting.
The most dangerous thing Netflix did wasn't get the science wrong. It was make you care less about the truth. Here is what actually happened to Giganotosaurus. For approximately 2 million years, a blink in geological time,
It ruled the river floodplains of Patagonia. It hunted the largest animals on the planet. It left slash marks in bones the size of tree trunks. And then, as ecosystems shifted, as sea levels changed, as the prey base transformed, it disappeared. Not from an asteroid, not from a predator, from time, from change. The way almost everything disappears. 66 million years later, Netflix gave it a villain's role in a story it was never part of. Made it a monster fighting the wrong enemy in the wrong country in the wrong geological period. And here's the thing that matters. When you flatten a real animal into a fictional rival, you lose something. You lose the actual strangeness, the actual complexity, the actual biology that is so much more disturbing and wonderful than any invented battle could ever be. Giganotosaurus didn't need T-Rex to be extraordinary. It ruled a continent. It brought down giants. It was the answer to a question 30 million years before T-Rex existed to ask a different one. Netflix got it wrong. The truth is better.